It's coming. Shit, we're live.
All right, let's do it. It's party, baby.
All right. So welcome, Oscar. This is the InfoSec to Insanity podcast. This is my own little place in the corner of the internet where it's okay to talk about InfoSec. It's okay to be insane a little bit.
Can't relate.
I'm a little bit insane.
Thanks for welcoming me into your little corner of the internet here. I can relate to both insanity and InfoSec, so this is going to be a good time.
Yeah. So Oscar, you're like one of my favorite people in general, and one of my favorite people on, Was it because of the beard though? Do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think we would still love each other if we didn't have beards. I mean, I still loved you when you shaved your beard. So
maybe it's just my exceptionally good looks or my quick wit. Yeah. I'm wearing a hat. You know why I'm wearing a hat today?
I don't know.
Because I knew you would be.
Yeah. Repping my cats.
Repping your cats. Well, that leads us to, so I wanted to have fun tonight. The first couple episodes that we've done so far were great. The first one, I had a power outage. Like, I don't know if you know the story behind that, but there was a power outage like minutes before we went live, and that was just, I was just pouring sweat, man. And then last week we also had a power outage, and then I decided I was going to do the, my part outside, and it was like 85% humidity. I'm pouring sweat. I can't get shit to work, so I'm inside today.
Nice. Yeah, so Sweat-Free Evan, this is a special occasion, 30 episode, iron out all the bugs. It's going to be crispy, clean, perfect. Yeah.
I'm still sweating, but it's just, not on my face.
I actually had to turn on my heat in here because it's like, 50 degrees out. And I forgot I had my air conditioner still running. And I came in here, I was like, holy shit, it's the Arctic. Turn on a little heat. Feels good.
So you're from Kentucky, but you live in Montana now.
That's right. Yeah. Born and bred Kentucky. I will always be a Kentuckian. It was funny. I was just talking to one of my buddies about this evening, and recently moved to Montana. I'm still in Kentucky today. We've been back out here the last few weeks, finishing the move, which has been a lot of work, a lot of fun. And, but my horses are in Montana now. My Volkswagens, super important. They made it to Montana. Putting my pig on a horse trailer tomorrow. She's going to be in Montana. And then myself, my wife, Erica, and Bug, our dog, which a lot of people who know me have probably already met too, will be headed that way on Saturday.
I love it. I love it, brother. So 3 things that I wanted to kind of spice us up and make this a little more fun. 1, you're a huge Kentucky Wildcats fan, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm repping my team. I rep my team a lot. I'm not like Tyler Briggs, crazy. Like, he's a huge Vikings fan. He's the biggest sports fan in the world, but I consider myself like the tier below that. I love UK sports, mainly football, basketball. I like baseball. Yeah, I'm just a UK fan.
When you came and visited me down here in Mexico, you made me put on a Kentucky football game.
Yeah, it was my first time internationally watching the Cats, but no matter where I'm at, I find a way to watch the Cats. It was funny. We had a power outage here last year during football season, and Cats were on. They were an away game because I have season tickets when I lived here. I always go to all the football games, And I'm like, I got to watch the Cats. Got to find a way to watch the Cats tonight. And so I got out a deep cycle boat battery, and I hook up my TV, a deep cycle boat battery to my TV through a power inverter, and then I'm, hotspotting off my phone to my TV so I can watch the football game. My buddy Ty comes over, stops by, and he's like, how long are you watching the football game? I'm like, I'll find a way, man. I will always find a way. He's like, this is the most redneck shit I've ever seen. I'm like, come on, man. It's just ingenuity. It's smart. I got to watch my Cats.
I love that about us. I love that about me, you, most of my friends, most of my circle of friends, is we're authentic people. Yeah, we're rednecks, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm happy about it. I feel good in my own skin. Now, being that you're such a Wildcats fan, and I'm a Minnesota sports fan, and it sucks to be me. It really does, because we suck, man. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. And
I can relate. So, football's tough for us. I can relate there.
Right. So I've got one thing we're going to do in this episode is anytime I want to, I can say Gophers, and you need to say shit.
Oh shit. I got that
Yeah.
easy. Yeah.
And then anytime when I'm talking, you can interrupt me and say Wildcats, and I got to say go Cats.
All right. Love it. Anytime.
And you have to buy into my go Cats like it's an enthusiastic go Cats, not just like a go Cats. It's got to be go Cats.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Right. Right. And I'll give it an enthusiastic shit. Right.
No, yeah. Go first. I just said it.
Oh shit. How about my
All right.
Wildcats?
Go Cats. Hell yeah.
There we go.
Give me some
Love
of
it.
that.
This is going to be great.
It is going to be great. And then another thing we're going to do tonight, which is different, just because I want to have fun tonight. I'm starting to get into a groove now with this podcast. I knew the first few episodes were going to be just awkward. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing and blah, blah, blah. But this one, I feel like I'm getting into my groove now. And so we're going to do a segment that I call Redneck Mexican, where I'm going to teach you how to speak Redneck Mexican. Yeah. And it's not Redneck Spanish. So for those politically correct people that are listening or watching, I live in Mexico. This isn't Spain. So it's Mexican. We're Redneck Mexican. We speak Mexican here. And two, I don't know if you know the history of Mexico, but Mexico declared independence from Spain. They did that for a reason, probably because they didn't like Spain too much at that time. I don't know if they do now. So we're going to represent Mexico and speak Redneck Mexican tonight.
I love it. I'm in. I've got some,
I'm telling you, man. It's all about representing.
My dialect is Appalachian, and so I feel like my Appalachian dialect will translate perfectly to Redneck Mexican. So I'm excited for this lesson tonight.
Straight up, I get you. So having getting that, those formalities out of the way, now let's do our customary posturing. Customary posturing is where we get to talk about ourselves and we get to kind of try to one up ourselves a little bit. So you get to say, you introduce yourself to the audience. This is what I do. This is what I am. And then I'm going to try to one up you. And then you're going to try to one up me. And then I'm going to one up you again. And you're going to one up me. And we're going to do this customary posturing thing because we need to practice that for when we're out there in the real industry, talking to other security people, because we posture a lot. And I want to get my intimidation factor up there. You know what I'm saying?
It's tough for me, man. I'm just a dude, right? I'm just a dude. I'm not an ego guy, right? Your ego is not your amigo. And so the whole posturing thing is always a bit awkward for me.
I know. That's why it'd be so funny for us to try to posture each other. Oh yeah, you did that? Well, I hacked my cat.
Hey, I'm Oscar Minks, everybody. I feel like I'm a pretty good dude.
I'm Evan Francine. I'm the best hacker you've ever met. I just hacked you right now and you didn't even know it.
I'm actually hacking everyone live streaming us right now simultaneously through my botnet that encompasses international territories.
Every day when I get up, it's a 0 day.
I'll wake up in the morning.
There's no such thing as Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. For me, every day is 0 day.
Well, I wake up in the morning, I take a piss, I piss exploits. Just saying.
But your exploits are so bad, you got to flush them down the toilet, dog.
They can't even be flushed down the toilet. It's a septic hazard. So maybe when I get on cities.
That's why you piss exploits. I shit exploits. I plug that toilet up every single time I sit down.
I think you win, man.
Right.
I don't know. I can't top that. I'm sorry.
Well, and the point is to make fun of those of us out there who posture all the time. One of my favorite meetings to go to are the ones where they don't know who I am.
Yeah.
And then they talk to you like, well, da 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 da, and I'm like, dang, that's awesome. And then after a while, they kind of push a button, and then you're like, well, no, I disagree with that. I think that's bullshit. I'm like, well, who are you? I'm like, well, I don't know, just a guy who does stuff.
I'm just the dude who does stuff. Yeah, I'm with you on that. It is always fun to it's just the ego, man. You get these guys that just posture and they peacock. They're like a rooster trying to show you their comb, and how badass they are. And they have no idea who you are and what you know. And I'm with you. It's fun sometimes. Like, just sit back and let them talk. Tell me everything you know.
Right. And why do
Because I don't know
you
shit.
feel like you don't? Why do some people feel like they don't need the posture? Why do you think that is?
I don't know, man. That's a good question. I think it's like, what is it? How does it benefit me? Like, if I'm trying to prove to someone I know something through the words that I say, how does that impact anyone positively? How does that make any change in any situation? How am I impacting the world in any way? I'm not, you know? And so for me, like, all the posturing is just bullshit. It's pointless. And I see no benefit from doing it personally. I think that more so the people who do it probably go back to like their own personal insecurities, their own personal imposter syndromes, which, you know, we all suffer with. We've talked about that from time to time. And so they try to project what they want other people to perceive them as, right? But me, it's like, oh, shit, worked perfectly. For me, it's always been like, you know, my words, I can tell you who I am, what I do, the things I've done, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, though, my actions and our relationship and this situation that we're in matter so much more. And that's how we build that respect. That's how we learn about each other. And that's what really matters to me, right? It's those relationships.
Yeah.
What do I know? I'm just a dude that loves the Wildcats.
Love the Wildcat. Oh, go Cats. Are you shitting me? Go Cats. Go. Go Cats. You've made me a Wildcats fan, by the way.
I love it. I love it. There's a lot of like people.
Kind of a closet fan.
Yeah. I love it, man. You're not the only one. I think there's a lot of people in Minnesota watching the Cats now because of me. And I'm proud. I'm proud of that.
Damn straight. Damn straight. Well, and I love the fact that you say your ego is not your amigo. We got stickers, you know, here in Mexico that your beautiful wife, you know, designed these great stickers, and we've got them here, and I hand them out to people that come. But I think there's a certain, I always believed, and tell me how you think about this. If you think I'm on something, or you think I'm full of shit. If there's three things I need in this industry often, right? I need trust, credibility, and likability. And so the one of those three that really relies on my experience and some level of posturing is credibility.
Yeah.
So I try to be cognizant of this, like, say enough about your experience, about yourself, until you've got credibility, and then shut up. There's no sense in going any further with this, because then I'm just serving my ego. What do you think about that?
No, I completely agree. I think there's like a fine line there. We do have to build credibility, and credibility and trust to me are intertwined, right? To be able to trust someone, they have to be credible to me. And so it is a necessity. And I agree, like from my standpoint, I guess my peacocking typically when I introduce myself and those situations where you have to, right? We're doing a public speaking event, we're meeting with a board, we're doing these things. You know, typically for me, it's just like, I've got 20 years experience. I've been doing this a really long time. Here's my letters. If you want to see the letters behind my name, if that's important for you, we can leave it at that. Otherwise, we'll get to know each other more. And hopefully it's enough to understand like, oh, this guy's been doing it a long time. And for me, it's like, if you've stuck with a profession for 20 plus years, you're probably going to be pretty damn good at that, right? You have to be. Yeah. And it means you care about it. Because if you didn't care about it, you wouldn't still be there. And so if you care about it, you're still in it. You're still fighting a good fight. You instantly get some credibility with me. If I hear that from you, you know, okay, this guy's a veteran, an industry veteran. He's going to know his shit. I can trust this guy.
Yeah. And I'll stroke your ego a little bit, man. There's things that, and I'm a no bullshitter, right? It's not, when I say things, I want to be known as that person who, when I see shit, I'll call shit. When I don't see shit, you know. So when I think of you, you've done some, it still amazes me, actually, what you did with the FR Secure technical services team when you came on board. It blew me away. I would have, if I would have given you odds on whether you're going to be successful or not in that, I would have said less than 10%. But I wanted to give you a shot. And even if you didn't succeed, we'd find another place for you, because you just, you know, when the first time I talked to you, every time I heard you, it reminded me of barbecue. And I love barbecue. So we were going to find a spot regardless, but you came on board, and it was miraculous. I've never, in all my years 30 plus years of information security experience. And, I'm 53 years old. So all the things I've seen over the years, I've never seen anybody do what you did. It was fucking amazing.
I appreciate that, man. And really, it goes back to like what we're just talking about. This is trust and credibility with my team, and like getting to know those guys, understanding them as people, as humans, understanding what they were good at, and saying, let's build this relationship and know that whatever we do here, I care about you. I got your back. We're going to do this together. We could be great. You're already great. Let's formalize that a little bit. Let's grow this thing. Let's show the world how good we are. And I think it all just boiled down. If I didn't focus on that trust, building those relationships, I could have never been successful. And so it goes back to exactly what you were saying.
When if you would have come into that position too as an egotistical asshole, you never would have been successful. I think people that work for you, they trust you, they know you're credible, but they can relate to you. They see you as a person that actually gives a shit about them, and as opposed to being intimidating. I think the reason why most people posture is because of their own insecurity. I think the reason why people don't posture, people like you, people like me, people like, there's many of us. There's no need for us to posture because I don't have to prove anything to you.
Right.
I don't care and I honestly don't care what you think about me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, I care about, there's a few core people I really care about what they think about. You know what I mean? You're one of those.
Well, yeah, people. You're in that core. And I wrote that article about my circles. I have circles. I always think of these things as circles. The first circle is Jesus. The second circle is my wife. The third circle is my family. The fourth circle is my close friends and associates. The fifth circle are acquaintances. And then there's everybody else.
Yeah.
And so you're in one of my circles, and I care what you think. Mm-hmm. But anybody who's outside of my circle, which is, 99.9% of the world, I don't give two shits what you think.
Yeah.
So why am I going to posture to try to earn your praise? I don't care.
Mm-hmm. I think that's exactly it, man. That's why we don't feel the need to posture, is because I don't care. Like, I don't care what your perception of me is. Like, I care about the people I care about, their perception of me, right? Everybody else, no, I don't. Like, and why should I? I'm adding stress to my life I don't need. Try to stay balanced, right? We try to stay healthy mentally. And that's something that's like, it's a negative impact to that. And like going back to like, the team and stuff and thinking about what I was able to do there, I appreciate you saying that, man. It means the world to me. I'm so proud of what we've been able to do and what we're still doing. But it was, again, going back to the ego. It was like, hey, there's no egos here. I'll do anything you guys need. I'm going to be in the ditches with you. We're going to do this together. And I remember there was a guy on the team that was just hired, and he didn't fit that mold. He was the guy you were talking about. He was posturing, had the big ego, wanted everybody to know how good he was, didn't want to be part of a team, wanted to be, his own individual. And one of the first things I did was let that guy go. It's like, no disrespect, man, you're just not a fit for our team. I can't have that. We're trying to build something here where we care about each other. We have camaraderie. We have a brotherhood and a sisterhood now, Can't do that. One bad apple can spoil the whole bunch,
That was also a great leadership trait for you, because I've always believed that, leaders are always looking for their replacements. They should be anyway. And seeing your success, it's like, and being honest with myself in the same company, I don't think I know I don't have the skills to do what you did. And so it's like, what a great opportunity for me to elevate and try to just get out of the way. Because another thing that I saw in all of that was your decisiveness, right? As soon as you noticed that bad apple, you didn't pussyfoot around. It was done. It was over.
You gotta,
it's awesome, man.
Rip the bro. It's like, we've talked about this, I think, before. Like, people struggle with hard decisions and challenging decisions, right? All you're doing is delaying the inevitable, causing more stress for yourself and even that individual too, right? Yeah. And I think, John shared this quote. It was like from Moneyball. You ever seen that movie, Moneyball, about the Oakland A's?
I probably have, but I suck at movies, man. I don't never remember anything.
It's just this idea, like, they're letting somebody go from the club, and he's a tenured guy. He's been there for years. They bring him in the front office. As soon as he walks in, like, hey, you're gone. We shipped you out to Tampa or something like that. And he's like, what? I was like, yep, see you later. Good luck.
Oh, they had Brad Pitt in it. Was that Brad Pitt in that movie?
Yeah. Brad Pitt was in it. Jonah Hill. when he says afterwards, it's Brad Pitt's character. He's like, "How would you rather die? Would you rather be shot in the head one time or have 8 wounds to the chest and bleed out? I'd rather be shot in the head one time." You know what I'm saying? And so,
Good
like,
point.
same thing when you're making hard decisions. Like, just make the decision. If you're confident in your decision, like, don't waste time. Face it.
Good
The hard
point.
decisions are usually the right decisions to make.
Gophers.
It.
I love it. This is great. I'm going to do this every damn episode now. All right. So that's awesome. So for people that don't know you, just if you don't mind giving a little bit of background, because you're not a guy who's out there on social media preaching stuff all the time. Some people don't even know, never heard your name before. And I think without being egotistical, people do need to know who you are because you represent a team. And I think a lot like me, I don't like being out there. I don't want the attention, but I also know that if I don't get some attention, then my team doesn't get attention either. Tell the audience just a little bit about your background, and how you kind of got where you're at right now.
Yeah, I'm so Appalachian American, right? That's what I call myself.
Appalachia. Go Cats. Just in case you were going to say it.
Southeast Kentucky, born and raised, man. I'm from the mountains, grew up in the mountains. I love the mountains. First generation to go to college from my family. Grew up from, my father worked in the mines and worked at a lumber plant later in his life. And a lot of family working in coal mines. My grandpa did. My papa is actually what I call him. And he was a mechanic later. And it's kind of both wanted me to go to school, right, and do something better. I got my first computer, I think, when I was probably 13 years old. I got i386 running Windows 3.1, I think, at that time. And it was a kit, I remember, so I built it myself and learned all the parts, started taking it apart, put it back together and stuff. So I always just kind of had an interest for technology in general. I always wanted to go to the University of Kentucky because I'm a big Wildcats fan.
Go Cats!
So, long story short, man, I went to the technical college and got CCNA, got a CompTIA plus, so I could move to Lexington, get a job, and find my way through college. So I got a job at the time working for a company called Affiliated Computer Services. ACS did a lot of business process outsourcing. I was in board desk work on third shift, where literally I was there for 10 hours and my job was done in 2 hours. And so I started really just messing around with IDS and building sort sensors and honeypots and deploying honeypots, internal and external, our network. And I loved it. It was a lot of fun and really, just kind of tweaked my brain and it felt good. And so at that point, it was just pet projects I was doing because I was bored working overnight. And kind of, my boss at that time, he's still a friend of mine, seen my potential, I think, gave me a better gig. And that kind of started my path into security. So that was in 2002-ish, I think I started there. And then kind of became just the de facto security guy for every place I worked for from that period on. Spent a lot of time in corporate America. Ended up working for the office of the CISO there for a while. I actually started doing like HIPAA controls and compliance, which I actually hate compliance work, but that's kind of where, I started with the office of the CISO. For ACS. Then I hopped around, worked for some local companies, technology group at that time, and Fork Group. We had owned banks, nursing homes, banking control systems, all those things. And I was thinking about this. It was like 37 businesses. Okay. So this was like in 05, 06, right? I was the only security guy, which is, kind of the shit we talk about. And so I did that for a while, got offered to come back to work for Xerox. I got an offer to go work for Xerox to run their enterprise vulnerability management program. So I went and built an enterprise vulnerability management program, which is a whole different story we could go deep into. And then kind of just worked my way up through there. When Xerox split into two companies, Conduit and Xerox. Conduit was a business process outsourcing company. So I got offered a job there to be their director of cyber operations. So for them, I was running all their cyber defense programs for Conduit. So our CSIR team, our digital forensics team, our IDS team, our endpoint team, our identity management team. So everything. Worked there for a long while longer than I should have, until I got to a point of burnout and just feeling kind of abused and down and was really thinking about switching careers. I mean, I was at that point, I was so disgusted with the corporate world and how information security, cybersecurity was viewed, and this lack of understanding, this huge disconnect. And then Far Secure found me. I remember I got a call from Pinky, who now works for me as our IR team manager. and, asked if, or told me to pass my name along to Secure as someone they might want to talk to about a potential opening. And then, that was all she wrote, man. It was, almost 6 years ago now. And I came here and just had a new invigoration for what we were doing. I felt meaning again in my work. I felt my place. I felt my people. I felt my mission that I believed in. And I wanted to just fight for this mission the rest of my life. And so came here, like Evan said, running our technical team. And, now I'm the president of the company. And I love every minute of it. Every day I wake up thankful and blessed to be in the position I am to help people.
Man, it's amazing. And from my perspective, man, it's, you see how things work out, and I know nobody knows how big of a fuck up I am more than I do. I'm sure I've got qualities and everything, but I know myself. I know what my capabilities are. I know, if I'm honest with myself, I know what I can do and what I can't do. And the fact that you and the rest of this management team are here working on this mission with me, it's a miracle. So it's like, holy crap, I can't even believe. It's amazing, man. I'm speechless about it, because when you give people the chance to do what they're capable of doing, and you get the hell out of the way and let them do what they do, amazing things happen. I've seen it happen so many times, and I've made mistakes, for sure. I've put people in positions where they didn't fulfill what I thought they were going to fulfill, and you make whatever, you autocorrect and whatever. But man, the future's so bright, because the future of FR Secure is in great hands. You've got my unwavering support. I would go, wherever you wanted to go to battle, man, I'd go to battle with you. And I know your team would be right behind us. And so it's amazing. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you didn't burn out. I'm glad you didn't quit, because we got a hell of a lot of work to do. And we can have a hell of a lot of fun while we're doing it too, right?
We're having fun every day. We really are. And that's kind of funny, man. I think about that time in my life. It was just, like almost 6 years ago, and having these conversations with my wife. And, I got buddies in all walks of life, and talking about it. A buddy at the time was running a crew, construction crew. And it's like, I think I'm just going to go do that. I play music too. It's like, I'll just hustle and get some gigs, work the crew. We can make it work, and she's like, you can do whatever you want. I'm going to support you and love you no matter what. She's like, but you're so good at this. You've spent so much of your life, like, getting to this level where you're at today. Like, there's going to be a place out there for you. There's going to be a place that appreciates you, that sees you for what you are, and sees your potential. And she believed in me more than I believed in myself at that moment, And I always thought it was a pipe dream. It didn't exist, And then when FR Secure found me, it was a blessing from God, man. And I came in, and it was like this revelation that, holy shit, it does exist. There are like-minded people like me out here that have been through the same situation. And a lot of our people have been there, they've been in that world. And they said, it's not for us. That world isn't for me. It's not for most people here. And that's why we've landed here. And a lot of it is because we're passionate about what we do, and we care about what we do. And you get handcuffed so much in these environments that you never have the potential to truly impact positively. And so I see so many of us out there that have found refuge with FR Secure. And I think that goes again to, like, why we have such a strong group, because we're relatable. We understand. We've been through these situations. We've been through these battles before. When you find a place like us where our mission is number one, we care about that more than anything else. And we care about our people. We truly care about our people. And that's, something that I felt when I came in here immediately, was just loved and appreciated and respected for who I was.
Yeah.
And that's something cool, man. Me as president, like, I'm always going to keep that intact for us. I want everyone here to feel special and loved, because they are every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the same for me. When you work so hard to grow something, and you have this, it's your baby. I'm not going to give it to somebody that isn't worthy of taking it. And you are, and all I need to do is support you. I love our one-on-ones. We have our one-on-ones. It's the one meeting I look forward to more than any other meeting, because not only do I see it as an opportunity to support you, but you also feed me. You're a musician, and I've been trying to learn musician-y things, and you're a damn good musician, so it inspires me to do that kind of stuff. So not only are you inspiring down, but I think you're doing a good job inspiring up too. So awesome. Yeah, it's cool. So
I appreciate
we
that,
also had,
and
go
I
ahead,
love
man.
our meeting too because it's like sometimes we don't talk about work at all. Sometimes we're just catching up, talking about life. What have you been up to, man? What are you working on personally? How are you doing? It's so important to me, right? And you really care, and I hope you feel that from me too. Like, how are you? How's your family?
Oh, I do.
And it's to me, it's that I don't know, man. That means a lot to me, and it helps me stay grounded, helps me stay balanced. You help me with my balance, and that's how we have to be for each other, man.
Yeah. I don't get two shits about what you do for work if you're not healthy, brother.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
I mean,
I know that when you're healthy, whatever you do at work is going to be better. It's going to be sustainable. It's we've had so many examples, and this is important. This is a good segue actually about the topic for tonight's podcast is when shit hits the fan. And so when shit hits the fan, it's not just information security, cyber incidents. Shit hitting the fan could be you burning out. Shit hitting the fan is you working too much, not paying enough attention to your wife or your spouse. You end up in divorce. Shit hitting the fan might be instead of dealing with the stress of your job, you're medicating, mental health issues. So there's lots of things that come with when shit hits the fan. When shit hits the fan, what do you do? Where do you go?
Yeah. And
So
then, and shit's always going to eventually hit the fan too, right?
right.
And any of those aspects you just talked about, you are going to be faced with those challenges.
Yeah. And so, when you talk about, and this is interesting because I had a podcast this morning or this afternoon or something with Mike, Mike Kennedy, who was episode 2. We were doing the Sunsets and Snowdrifts podcast. I'm the sunset, by the way. Hello, sunny guy.
Yeah.
He's the snowdrift, which is kind of the stick in the mud guy. But besides that, we were talking about what dawned on me while we were talking about cybersecurity awareness. This is, I guess, Awareness Month or something. And how I've always believed that you can't separate information security from life. One of the problems, one of the challenges with people understanding information security is you can't get your head around it. You can't get your arms around it. And the reason why you can't do that is because it doesn't fit in a bucket. Like so many other topics. So many other topics, you can fit them in a bucket, and so you can make sense of it. The problem with information security is it's in all of your buckets. It's not in one bucket. It's in all of them.
Right.
And there's so many parallels between what we struggle with on the job with what happens in life. So take incident response. We say shit hitting the fan. Incident response, information security incident response, right? What's the first thing we do? Well, we prepare. We have a preparation. We prepare for an incident, ideally, before it actually happens. So then when it happens, it doesn't catch us by surprise. We have a plan. Nobody's freaking out. You're using logic. You're not using emotion to respond to it. The same thing with life. Shit will hit the fan. For me, shit will hit the fan for you. There will be days where I just have a shitty day where I'm beat up, I'm tired, I'm depressed, I'm angry, whatever. And so just like I would prepare an incident response plan for work, I've already prepared an incident response plan for my life. I've surrounded myself with people that care about me, that love me, that will, when shit does hit the fan for me personally, I'm not going to be alone. And so it's just another one. It just dawned on me that that's another one of those parallels between incident response at home versus incident response in life. The principles are really the same, are they not?
They are. They're absolutely the same. And I think about that a lot with like mental health. And I talk to a lot of, people on our staff and friends and understanding like it's the same thing. You're responding to an incident. And maybe that incident is just what you said, like it's a high stress event, whatever that is. Just like, an incident in information security is a high stress event for your business. Well, we have high stress events that occur in our personal life daily. And for me, like I go back, there's so many parallels, right? Where you think about instant response, like first, it's really important to detect, right? To be able to detect that incident is occurring. You can't detect it's occurring, then you can't begin to respond, right? So you have your mean time to detect, your mean time to respond. It's the same thing for us personally with our health, our mental health, you know?
Right.
And I talk to people about like, how do you recognize when you're going through a state of high anxiety, when you're going through a state of, depression? Can you self-recognize that? And if you can't, start trying to figure out how you can, right? And I'll work on that. And that's something that like helps me stay balanced a ton. And like, I know like I get distant. When I get distant with people, I get short with people, right? Maybe I start recognizing I have emotional responses instead of having well-articulated thoughts to respond. To me, that's a sign like, hey, bro, you're in a bad spot. And then, so what do? Like, I have a plan, like, okay, I need to get out of this and decompress. And I have my things that I can do to go decompress. And then it's funny when I get in that state and I come back and I look at things before that were putting me into this like state of anxiety, right? And I see them from a fresh perspective where I am grounded now and I am kind of aware. My perception completely changes of that event that happened.
Right.
And so it's important.
Well, like you said, so the object of the game, this game we're playing called information security, and actually the name of the game for life isn't risk elimination. It's not perfection. It's risk management. It's progress. So when I look at what I can't prevent, I need to have something in place to detect it. Because I'm probably not going to detect it when it comes to my own life. So just like you wouldn't have a server detect something, you would have like an intrusion. You mentioned you have a background with intrusion detection systems, much like I do. And so in my life, who are my intrusion detection systems? Who are my intrusion prevention systems? My wife is a great intrusion detection system. She will tell me when I'm off, when something's wrong. I have, friends who are great intrusion detection systems in my life. And then for the incident response, I've got expert responders to help me get back on my feet. And when I can't get back on my feet, then it's maybe time to go get, some professional help. It's time to, but that detection thing, just like I would have, but going back to it, it all requires preparation.
Yeah.
You have to prepare for this. You have to have the right detection systems in place and have the right response plan in place to do the right thing when shit hits the fan.
Yeah. Yeah. You're exactly right. It's funny you talk about your wife as like your detection system. Same thing for me with Erica. It's like she sometimes will oftentimes know before I realize like I'm in this state of anxiety or stress. And I've got tells, I'm learning my tells. She's telling me like if I'm in the car, I'm just stroking my beard,
I do the same thing. Marlis is like, what are you thinking about? And I'm like, nothing. She's like, why are you touching your beard? I'm like, shut up.
Yeah. I notice I do it when I'm having anxiety, like I'm having stress a lot. It's just like that, I don't know, adult pacifier, right? It's like, what are you stressed about? I'm like, I'm not stressed. And then like, well, actually, yeah, this is bugging me. It's on my mind. I can't get it off right now. It's good to have that support.
Not only is she an intrusion detection system, she's a finely tuned intrusion detection system.
Very, very finely tuned.
I remember during COVID, I've always been a guy where I've always been comfortable being alone. I don't need people around me to feed me, except for when shit hits the fan, obviously. But
yeah. So
when COVID hit, I was, I found a whole bunch of things to work on. I was working on the deck in the backyard. I was keeping busy. I felt like I was fine. And my wife said to me, "You're off." I'm like, "What do you mean I'm off? The hell? Bullshit. I'm not off. You're off." And she's like, "No, you're off." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." And I blew it off. And then we went to Sturgis that year. And as soon as in Minnesota and South Dakota are completely different in the way they approached COVID. In South Dakota, they didn't have a mask mandate. And as soon as I got into South Dakota, it felt normal. And it dawned on me like, holy shit, I was broken. I was really messed up. And so I told my wife, you were right. I need to listen to my intrusion detection system a hell of a lot better than I was doing because I just ignored the shit out of you. I tuned you out as a false positive.
Yeah,
You got to be careful about tuning those false positives, by the way, because, on an intrusion detection system, when you tune a false positive, you're not going to get alerted to it again.
Absolutely, man. We have to listen to those and really, it's kind of like, we talk about with like vulnerability management stuff. And this is kind of a big part of like my report last year I did. And that talk I was doing last year where it's like, it's not just patching vulnerability, man. You have to understand like the true details of what that vulnerability is and understand how to detect the exploit. Have already been impacted by this. And if you don't, you're just blindly patching vulnerabilities. Like, high chance your ass is already compromised and you have no idea.
Okay, you said your ass is compromised?
Yeah, your ass is compromised.
Ooh, I just cringed a little bit there, man. I don't know if I like that.
Go Wildcats.
You were go Wildcats. Go Cats. So you were speaking figuratively right there, not literally, correct?
Yeah, figuratively. Your ass is fine, I think. I don't know. I'm not there, but I think you're okay.
I will then tune this as a false positive.
You might want to do some forensic investigation and analysis just to make sure, but I trust you can do that.
Well, I did the root cause analysis, and yeah, I got the source. It's definitely false positive. So next time you say such things, I will not be alerted.
All right.
That's how intrusion detection systems work, by the way, for the listeners. Intrusion detection systems, depending on the type of intrusion detection system, whether it's a signature based, right? Those are typically less prone to your false positives, or anomaly based, or some other engine. You have to do root cause analysis on all those on all those alerts to determine if it's a false positive or not.
People like, when they try to tune intrusion detection systems or intrusion prevention systems, it's a wall of data right when they start, and it's overwhelming because you're getting millions.
It's a shitload of work, dude.
Yeah. And so I don't know how many times have you seen in your career, you go into a place like, yeah, we have IDS in place with this and this, or are you using it? Is it actually working? And you go look and it's like, you haven't tuned shit. You have no idea. You're looking for 5 alerts and ignoring everything else. So like, this is again, a worthless piece of technology that you wasted a bunch of money on that's doing nothing at all to decrease the risk to your organization.
Yeah. Every intrusion detection system that I've ever put in, it was at least 6 months before it became functional.
Oh, minimum. Yeah.
It was 6 months of constant root cause analysis, chasing down every one of those alerts to determine whether this was truly a false positive or if this was something to cause concern. And you had to be super, super, super careful. And I said 3 supers right there. You had to be really super careful to not tune something out as a false positive, because I wouldn't get alerted to it again. And now you just created a hole in your detection fabric.
Yeah.
That unless you go back and start over again, you're not going to get it back.
Yeah. I think you said super 3 times, so that would be super duper.
It's so super, because people, the sad thing about, being an old timer, you get jaded. I'm pretty jaded now, and I catch myself sometimes like, I got to stop being so negative about everything. There's positive stuff going on, but it's like the kid walking through your yard. Like, get off my fucking grass.
Right.
And it's like, it's because you just see so many people, I think, taking shortcuts. They don't do the work that's required to make things actually function the way they're supposed to function. Intrusion for penetration testers, when you talk about posturing and they talk about the things they've done, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you have no idea what the fuck you actually did.
Right.
Because you don't know how the tools actually worked to produce the results that you saw.
No, you're relying on with minimal education to be able to do that. It's completely dangerous, especially when they're testing on live networks, which most of the tests are on live networks. And so, I mean, we've seen that before where they're just blasting tools with no thoughts of recourse because of those tools, and then they cause a domain-wide outage because guess what? Their password spraying, they didn't set a proper cooldown time. They didn't even validate what the cooldown time was in the domain, and boom, they just locked out every account in the domain. I mean, we've seen things like that happen from folks that really have no business testing.
That was one of the good things about the old days, was you didn't have Google to Google things, to troubleshoot things. You certainly didn't have ChatGPT. And so you had to use logic you had to use troubleshooting basics, just like you would if you were working on a car for the first time. Without the Haynes manual. Or maybe you do have the Haynes manual. How many times were you told growing up, RTFM? I mean,
oh yeah, read the fucking manual. Yeah,
all the time I was told
real
RTFM.
lucky you got the Chilton, right? I had the Haynes, but every now and then I got to see the Chilton, and I'm like, oh my god, this is the Bible working on this car.
Right.
How do I get this? I can't afford it though, so I had the Haynes.
So if you wanted to be like an expert penetration tester, you want to be an expert at anything, you don't have to look any further than like professional sports, right? Watch any professional sports football team. Watch their practice. What are they doing? They're doing the same damn drills that they did back in high school, over
Yeah,
and over and over and over again, because the focus is on the basics. It's on the fundamentals. And then once you've got that muscle memory, then you can start talking about advanced techniques. But so many people want to go right to the advanced techniques and skip all the fundamentals.
yeah. I see, like all the Zero to Hero courses, right? And I think it kind of
Oh, God.
reinforces that attitude, that idea, and it's like, oh, I just do this course and I'm an expert. Like, bullshit, man. It's time in the seat. I don't care what you're doing in this world. If you want
Yeah.
to be an expert at that, it's time in the seat. And it goes back to like that idea. It's like 10,000 hours. If you do the same thing 10,000 hours, you will be an expert in that. I believe that, man. Everything in life that I've ever been an expert at or I am good at today, it's only because I've done it over and over and I continue to practice. And I do it over and over and over. And you never get to a point where you're good enough. That's the thing, right? If you get
I
to the
never
point where
feel
you
like an expert.
no, if you get to the point you become complacent, that's when you become irrelevant to me, right? You think you know it all, you become complacent, and the world passes you by because you're no longer practicing your art. You're no longer honing your skills and sharpening your blade, and you can't do that, man. We have to keep pushing. It's like my hobbies and interests, even outside, like all the things I love are things I feel like I will study my entire life, and I will have more to learn. I will never master everything there is ever. And I
No,
can continue this my entire life. And those are the things that interest my brain the most because I mean, you and I share this. I love to learn, right? I love to continually learn new things. And I love to be able to, when I learn something, apply that knowledge and solve a puzzle. You know what I mean? I look at a lot of what, I love IR, I love digital forensics, and a lot of that is like solving puzzles. I have a background in network engineering like you do too. And, it's like one of those things, man, where like, hey, it sucked when there was an outage. It was one of my favorite things, though, to get in there and figure out what the fuck was going on and to be the one to figure out how to bring this network back online. Yeah, I don't know, man.
no. Well, that's the fundamental too. Computers and networks only do what you told them to do.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a mind of their own. They're not off, reconfiguring things by themselves. They're not, spawning new threads without something telling it to spawn a new thread. So all these things happen. And in terms of being an expert, I will never feel like an expert ever. I mean,
Right.
and I'm comfortable with that. I know a lot of people struggle with imposter syndrome, and I know a lot of people on our team struggle with imposter syndrome. And my comeback to the reason why I don't struggle with imposter syndrome, and honestly I don't, and I never really have, and it's not because there's anything special about me. It's because I'm my own worst critic, and I'm harder on myself than anybody else. I only want to be the best me. I don't want to be the best pen tester. I don't want to be the best leader. I don't want to be the best security person. I just want to be the best me. And when I focus on that, then I'm not comparing myself to anybody else, and there's no imposter syndrome.
Yeah. It goes back to, too, I think what we were saying earlier, like with the people who do posture, right? And that being kind of related to their own insecurities. And so, like, I think that does lead into the imposter syndrome. And I think that we put too much weight on what others think about us, right? Instead of us focusing on ourselves and being the best versions of ourselves that we can be, that it's a byproduct of that. If you focus on yourself and every day when you wake up, man, every day when you finish your day, like I gave today hell. I did the best I could do for myself today. I sleep well at night because of that.
Right. Well, and there's a lot of people over the years that look up to you, and they like want to be like you. And the thing is why would you settle for that? Why would you settle for being like me when you can be 1,000 times better than me? You have no idea what you're even capable of. So why would you emulate somebody other than take the advice, learn from the wisdom, right? I already paid the dumb tax on a lot of this shit. So why would you pay the dumb tax on it? So listen to those things, but strive to be 10 times better, or not even 10 times better, because strive to be the best you.
Yeah. Yeah. Carve your
That's
own
the only thing you're
path.
ever going to be the best at. The only thing you're ever going to be the best at is the best you.
Yeah. Yeah. You're never going to be that person. I don't think there's anything wrong being influenced by someone that you look up to, learning, like having an open mind and wanting to learn from someone that you look up to and you appreciate, that is an inspiration to you. But at the end of the day, it's never like you want to be like that person. Like you said, it's like, let me learn what I can to help me be the best version of me, because we're all truly unique, man. We're all going to have our own paths, and we all have, no matter how similar our brains work, they're still unique and they're still going to be different. And so you're going to have things that you can bring to the table that maybe that person you're striving to be doesn't have, and vice versa, right? So we can't ever be that. We don't fit in a mold. Find your own path, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So speaking of when shit hits the fan, can you think of an incident in your experience that sticks out as like a defining kind of incident? Like, yeah, that one, I learned a lot of shit from that one, or that one hurt so bad, or fuck, I never want to be there again. Can you think of an incident that you can share with the audience that is kind of a defining one for you?
Yeah. There's one that just kind of sticks out, and this is, I'm trying to remember, maybe 3-4 years ago. We're working with a client. They were in manufacturing and product distribution, full ransom case. Everything's encrypted, and we start the triage. Like, what do you got backups? Like, yeah, we got backups. Like, let's go look at those backups. All the backups are encrypted too, right? And so again, this situation where they're hard down and losing money, I mean, just bleeding money by the minute. And we get into a situation with them, and it's like, I never say, yeah, let's pay the ransom. And they were working with lawyers and everybody else involved and stuff. And at this point, they'd been down for days, and they say, all right, we're going to have to pay the ransom. And it's like, okay, I don't necessarily agree with that, because we're funding terrorists in my mind at that point. But I understand you got employees that rely on you, you got, families that rely on you. And so they start that negotiation process with the attacker. And then we start to see, like, the ransom group is kind of hit or miss, man. Like, they're taking days to respond sometime. And so they're bleeding. Like, this whole outage is down, extending on to like 2 weeks. They finally get to a point, they're negotiated, and they're ready to send payment for the ransom. The FBI steps in at that point. The attackers had essentially cloned their ransomware payload to look like another ADP's payload. And we looked at this payload and said, I know it looks like A, but we believe it's B. The FBI steps in before they're going to pay that ransom, and they say, they're on the OFAC sanction list. You cannot pay that ransom. You can't pay the group because they're a terrorist group. And so then this company had to rebuild from scratch, start all over. Long story short, the whole thing, they're hard down for close to a month, and the company went under soon after the incident happened. And so seeing those things, man, like it hurts me, right? It's hard, because I go back to what I said earlier. You got individuals, you have families, you have a lot of people that rely on your business to be operational, and not to mention the products that you're distributing. They need those products. People need the jobs. And just seeing that one play out in front of my eyes is like, holy shit, this is so important what we're doing, because of their poor choices, because they didn't have the information, the intelligence, or the ability to know how to prevent this from happening, or how to respond quicker and better. They impacted, hundreds of thousands of lives negatively because of that. There's people that are hurting because of this. And that was one of those moments that just reinforce to me, like, why our mission is so important, why it is so critical, because people rely on these businesses. And yeah, I don't know, man, that's just one that always sticks out in my brain. It was everything that could go wrong went wrong for the client in that situation. And there's nothing we could do. I was just watching a train wreck at that point. And
yeah. And that's when people ask me about the mission is to fix the broken industry. And the motivation, the purpose behind that is, I hate seeing people get taken advantage of. I hate it.
Yeah.
There are very few things in this world that I actually hate. Hate is not a word I use very often. It's a very powerful word, but I hate seeing people get taken advantage of. And there's people like this attacker that took advantage of this company. There's those, overt, I call them kind of overt attackers. They're the ones that everybody knows. They don't try to hide the fact that they're attackers. There's that side, and then there's the other side, which is, I call them the wolves in sheep's clothing. It's vendors who sell you shit that you don't need, that doesn't work, that you can't use. That's not the best spend of your money. At the end of the day, both sides cost people money. And they cost people money that they can't use to grow their business. They cost people money that they can't pay more for their employees. They can't invest more in benefits and other things. They can't grow their business. And so at the end of the day, the end result is the same. You have less money.
Yep.
Whether it's an attacker who took it, who ransomed you, or it's the vendor who sold you some shit that you didn't need, that didn't work. So I get pissed off at both of those things. And I feel like even beyond that, my personal mission, and I've shared this before, it's a faith thing, and it doesn't mean you have to be a believer in Jesus or not. That's not the point. But I do believe I am going to die someday. You are. I don't know if you knew that, but that's kind of a certainty thing. And when I die, I want to hear well done. Nothing else matters to me. It doesn't matter how much money I have. It doesn't matter how many people listen to my podcast or anything else. The reason for the podcast isn't ego. The reason for this podcast is to share stories, to share wisdom with people that they'll remember so they don't repeat some of the same stupid ass mistakes that we made, that they won't fall for some of the pitfalls, because the thing that comes with experience, I was wondering, wisdom. I was curious, like, where does wisdom come from? Because I didn't know. I'm not that smart, so I looked it up and I did some research. Wisdom comes from experience and pain. And I'm like, all right, that explains it then. Because I got a lot of both of that shit. So that's why it's not intelligence. People think, wisdom comes from intelligence. No, it comes from running into the wall enough times and just existing, really. I mean, experience. When people think about the experience, and we use that to posture a lot, my first computer was a whatever, Pix 520 firewall and no, I mean, you just happen to be alive at that time, and you just happen to fall into that position, and you just happen to get that job, and you just happen to still be here.
Yeah.
That's it. There's nothing special about it. You'll be doing the same. People that start in the industry today, 20, 30 years from now, if they're healthy and they stick with it, they'll be in the same spot you and me are in.
Yeah, but, I agree, man. Like, I think about that too. It's like my legacy. It's the same thing. When I die, it's just, I hope that I impacted those around me in a positive way, right? And my legacy is you left those around you, cared about them in a better place than they were before, right? You have positive impacts through them. And so my positive impacts, hopefully, however I can influence people, can continue to live and thrive without me here, right? Those things live forever. We don't. Our legacy will live forever. And I want mine just to be, you positively impacted the people that you were able to touch, the people you were able to be with, right? And I think I agree with you so much. I've thought about this like my whole life, man, this idea of, and to me, it's hard to separate wisdom and intelligence, right? It's just like, how wise are we? What is our mass intelligence? Our cumulative intelligence, to me, is all just a culmination of our life experiences, right? Mm-hmm. We all have different and truly unique experiences that allow us to learn different things. And you're right. It's like, I don't know. I talk about, like, I'm Appalachian American from the mountains, and we're an area where a lot of people think we're the dumb people because there's not a lot of people that have formal intelligence, right? There's some people I know. I mean, my papa had like a third grade education. Why? Because they were poor and he had to work when he was a kid. He wasn't good at reading. He wasn't good at writing. Couldn't spell very well. But that guy is one of the smartest men I've ever met in my whole life because he had all the experiences. He worked so hard since he was a kid. He learned so many things. He learned so many life lessons that, to me, he is one of the most intelligent or wise humans that I've ever had the opportunity to know.
Yeah.
And I think about like bullshit, like IQ tests and bullshit, like maybe that can measure the capacity of my brain, but that's still based upon a standardized test that we created. Like there is no like normalcy here. It's truly unique to the individual. And we all have the capacity to be wise. We all have the capacity to be intelligent, maybe at different things, but we all have that capacity to be good, be wise, and positively impact the people around us.
Amen, brother. Amen. And the frustrating thing for an old timer like me who wants to fix the broken industry, I want less people to be taken advantage of. I want more people to protect themselves. I want more people to understand how this works. The frustrating thing, and I think the reason why I'm as jaded as I am about where we're at, is I could take the same presentation I gave 25 years ago, just change the date, update it, and give the same presentation today, and it would be just as relevant. And you have just as many people going, hell yeah, man, you nailed it. It shows that we haven't made progress.
It's rough.
We're not better today than we were when I started in this industry. Trust me, we're not. We're worse.
It's, I was thinking about this too, man. It's like Seth, Seth is our R&D manager for FR Secure, and Eric and I were talking about, it's like kind of like what's old is new again. It's cyclic. It's because like everybody gets distracted by the flashy lights, man, and the next big thing. And that's what they focus on. And then they forget about the things we've been working to make progress on the last 2 to 3 years because they're focused on the new thing. We fixed that. That's done. I don't have to worry about that. But then there's a time it cycles around and it all becomes relevant again. And I think about like looking at our cases we're working right now. Like, okay, go back 2, 3 years ago. And every case, like every ransomware case, there was going to be some sort of command and control, like a custom command and control or Cobalt Striker, something that the attackers were using that they could circumvent your EDR and operate this command and control system. Well, now, like most people are just using like remote management tools, AnyConnect, Screen Connect, all that shit. And I think about it, man, like it used to be, okay, back 10 years ago, when we're looking at cases, they were like living off the land with VNC or whatever shit tool they were using then. Okay, they got good at locking that down. Well, they shipped to C2s. Well, we got good at detecting C2s. Well, they're just back to that again. It's just this cyclic thing where what's old is new will continue to occur. I think about like with our like business email compromise stuff we're working right now. It's all evil proxy. It's all evil proxy. Evil proxy is just a man-in-the-middle attack where they're stealing your session cookie. Like we've been talking about man-in-the-middle attacks since I've been in this, and we thought we got pretty good at detecting and preventing those. Well, guess what? We stopped paying attention. They found a new trick or a new play on an old trick, and it's relevant again. And it's just over and over and over.
Yeah, it's frustrating. That is the frustrating part, because people say APTs. Like I haven't seen an APT in 20 years. All I see is PTs. There's nothing advanced about these attack techniques. We've seen them before. It's the same thing. They recycled the same things. Sure, it's a 0-day exploit because you added new software that has new bugs to it. That's it. It's the same thing we've always done. You identify a vulnerability, you exploit the vulnerability. So now you've got a foothold into the system. You elevate your privileges, plan a backdoor to establish that persistence. You pivot, you delete logs, you come back. I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah. And it's like this idea too, right? People keep thinking it's like what we're doing and we're trying to solve is a technology problem, right? And we always said it's not. It's a people problem. It's going to continue to be a people problem. So the problem I have with that is people keep throwing more technology at it, right? More and more technology.
Hell yeah, brother.
And
preach it.
We know it's all inherently vulnerable. The O-Day is there, whether they've discovered it or not. So you are just compiling more risk to your organization by throwing more technology at a solution that has nothing to do with technology. It has to do with the people.
Yeah. The people that have always been the best, and this goes throughout history. And you can even read, what's that Art of War, right? That by Sun Tzu or whatever, that ancient Chinese dude. The number one thing for everybody throughout history. And it's not like we're bucking history. We just continue to repeat history, in case you didn't know that, is situational awareness. It's understanding yourself and understanding your enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And so in order for you to do that, rather than continuing to add more shit to the things you already don't understand, stop.
Yeah.
Understand who you are. Understand what you look like. Understand your environment. The reason why I was as successful as I was as a network engineer and a security engineer back in the day, and they paid me shitloads of money. I mean, like insane amounts of money because I was really, really good at it. And the reason why I was really, really good at it was because I understood what was going on. I always knew what was going on in my network. I would get offended, angered at myself if somebody told me something about my network that I didn't already know.
Yep.
So if a user called me and said the network is slow, I'd be pissed off. Not at them, I'd be pissed off at myself because I should have already known that.
Yep. Yep.
And we've lost that. And the reason why we've lost that, and I get all kinds of excuses from all kinds of IT people. I get so many excuses from security people. Well, networks are so much more complicated today than they were. Okay, agreed, they are. So why do you keep making it more damn complicated? You already don't understand it. The logic didn't change. I get your excuse, and it's a valid excuse, so stop adding more shit to it. Slow down.
Let's figure out how to simplify. And I think about like my life personally. You know, I've talked about this before, like my house here in Kentucky. I have a dumb house, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm proud of that. Like, I don't need all these network connected devices to give me like a ease of life or whatever. It doesn't make me any better. And I like only say that as an example because we just moved, right? This house in Montana. All right, the fucking microwave connects to the Wi-Fi, the oven, the refrigerator, everything in the house like is demanding to be configured. And if I don't configure it, okay, well then I just got these open devices anyone can configure. So I started looking at like my oven and my range, like, no, I want to shut that shit down. To shut it down, I have to disassemble the device and take the module out. I can't turn it off. And if I do that, well, guess what? I void my warranty because I've made a modification to that device that the manufacturer didn't intend for me to do. And so it's like shit. Like, and like for me, like as an information security dude, like what do I think about? Like this range, like what's the risk to me? Okay, I got a vulnerable piece of software. Say my network is compromised at home. What can an attacker do? You can burn my fucking house down, man. Go crank all the burners on high, crank the oven on high when they know I'm out of town. Burn your home down. Like there's risk involved with this technology that like people just focus on ease of use. Make my life easier. Make my life easier. They don't think about the inherent risks they're imposing to themselves. And I'm not saying I'm keeping myself up at night. These are just things I'm thinking about. Like that's bullshit. I should be able to opt out of that. And I think about that relates to business too. Like stop overcomplicating. Focus on simplifying. Boil it all down. Let's see what you really need to operate. And let's focus on tuning those systems so they are secure and they operate efficiently.
Well, and the fact of the matter that you're thinking about it is what situational awareness is.
Yeah.
Right? It's the people who just plug the shit in that don't think about it. It's the continual adoption of new technology without being responsible with the new technology. And to expect that to not have consequences associated with it. Just because you don't have consequences associated with it today doesn't mean you won't later. Because the truth of the matter is, and this is logical, this is logic, right? So take emotion out of this. Logically, shitty choices have consequences. So a shitty choice is to adopt technology, adopt anything, and be irresponsible with it. Expect consequences. You may not have them today, but they're coming. It's logic would tell you that they're coming. And so, you know, because some people will misinterpret what you just said as like, oh, so I need to have a dumb home. No, that's not what Oscar said. What Oscar said was he chose to have a dumb home, and anything that he puts in his environment, he's evaluating what it means to his situation for that situational awareness. So if you want to have a smart home, be responsible. Understand how the smart home works. Understand how to protect your smart home. Understand what risk is. Understand what controls are, mitigating controls. Understand what a firewall is. Understand what authentication is. Understand what multi-factor the more shit you add, the more complication that's going to come with it, which means the more questions they're going to be, and the more overwhelmed you're going to feel. So stop, because truly, your quality of life doesn't come from the damn technology. You've seen studies, just like I've seen studies, where they ask people, normal people, not security people, normal people. I don't know if you knew this, but security people aren't normal. But they ask the normal people, they ask them, hasn't technology made your life better? Has it made it more enjoyable? Are you more relaxed? Or are you more hectic? Do you have less free time? Do you feel like you're running all over the damn place? And the truth is, technology has not made your life better. It would only make your life better if you knew how the fucking technology worked and you were going to use it responsibly. Otherwise, it's not going to make your life better. All those fucking meeting invites you get all the time, all the messages, whether it be from Teams or shit, I got so many damn Teams or Signal or WhatsApp or text messages or email or it's not making your life better. I don't know if you knew that. Just it's not.
Yeah,
what's making your life better is getting outside. Looking at your wife in the eyes. Yesterday was my wife's 50th birthday.
Oh, happy birthday, Mar.
Yeah. And you know what I gave her for a birthday present?
I don't know.
Me.
No idea. Yeah, that's a great present.
I canceled all meetings.
Yeah.
I put down my phone. There was no technology. I looked into her eyes. I understood who she was. I invested in her. And she told me it was the best birthday she's ever had.
Oh, I love that, man. It's
right?
amazing.
We're like always so damn busy, and we're thinking like, this is awesome. I got to keep up. And so this brings up a really good point. I was talking with Michael today, and I've been thinking this for a while now. The worst decisions I make typically are ones where I'm out of balance between emotion and logic. Usually emotion. Emotion rises really high. I do stupid shit. Like I'm angry. Well, I make crap. And so when you talk about this urge to always adopt new technology or when vendors are selling you shit that you don't need, what they're capitalizing on, I think more often than not, is emotion. And what it is typically fear. It's the fear of, if I don't do this, I'm going to get attacked and lose my business. Or, I think this one's actually more common, it's the fear of missing out.
Yeah, FOMO is a big thing, man.
How many times do you ask somebody, why did you buy this thing? And they're like, they look at you like you're stupid for even asking the question. Like, isn't it obvious? I'm like, well, if it was obvious, I wouldn't ask the question. And they're like, well, because everybody else has this thing. I'm like, that's not a reason to buy this thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's, I think it is a lot of like this groupthink idea. And I think well, first, let me go back. Thanks for clarifying. I'm not saying don't have a smart home. You were exactly right there. Just understand how to properly secure those things and make sure you need them.
It's your prerogative, right? I mean, if you decide not to have a smart home, why should anybody else judge that?
Yeah, exactly. So, but what you're saying too, like the FOMO, and I think this is we're getting a little outside of the normal space, but I like talking about this. It goes back
to normal space here.
Technology in general and people being overly addicted
to technology. There's no normal space here. Go first.
But people being addicted to this, to technology to the point where they're not separating, like you said, they're not looking at their wife in the eyes. They're not getting outside and exploring. They're not doing new things and having new experiences because they're so addicted to the technology at that point. And then, kind of compounding. And you talk about me, you don't find me online. I'm a ghost online. And there's a reason why for that. It's because for me, I made the decision that being involved in those specific social media platforms were negative to my mental health, because then you're always seeing other people and they're portraying moments, and you see a moment and then your brain thinks that's their life, but they're not. They're portraying a moment. And then you have this feeling like, oh, well, I can't do that. I don't have that experience. I don't have that opportunity. And it has a negative impact on your life. And then people start searching for, let me share a moment so I get those likes. I get those things. and it becomes a dopamine hit, and you're just craving that dopamine hit over and over and over, and you find yourself constantly doom scrolling. And for me, I found myself much happier to say, I'm out of there. I'm not going to be part of that. I want to just live my life and my experiences with those people I surround myself with. If it's important enough for them to know, we'll know. If it's important enough, something you've done, I'll know about it, right? We'll share those things as humans and real human experiences. And so again, everybody choose and do what you want to do. But I think that a reason why we have this constant need for the new thing, the next best thing over and over, is just because you see everyone else is doing. You feel like you're missing out if you're not part of the club.
Right. I hear all the time, CIOs, because we work closely with CIOs and they struggle, I think, often with keeping up with what they say is the unrealistic technology demands of the business. And so, okay, unrealistic technology demands of the business. How do we tackle that? I'm not saying don't adopt new technology. I'm saying be responsible in the adoption of new technology. Understand how it works. Understand how it affects the situation. Understand the risks involved, the benefits involved. My father taught me that shitty choices have consequences, but he also taught me that good choices have benefits. And so when I measure the things in my own life on whether this is a problem or not, and this is where logic comes in, right? Emotion wouldn't let you do this. Emotion wouldn't let you think through things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I look at my life, and that's one of the reasons why I quit drinking 20 some odd years ago. If something in my life is constantly creating consequences and not creating benefits, why would I keep doing it? And sometimes the benefits, so you have to evaluate that stuff. But the same thing applies to our environments that we're trying to secure, right? And when I'm saying trying to secure, it's not all technology. It's not just adopting technology. It's, we have physical risks that we have to account for. We have to account for the people side of security. Obviously, that's, super important because people generally are the cause of all this technology thing. Usually that's where it starts, right? It's we need to have this new technology.
Yeah.
Okay, why? Why do we need to have this new technology? I'm not saying we don't. As your security person, as your vCISO, or as your CISO, I agree we might need it. Tell me how it will make us more money as a business. And tell me how it fits in our current situation, how it fits within the current environment. Because I want you to have that new technology. I just want to make sure that when we do this new technology, that we're responsible with it. And we're not going to lose all the benefits by making a poor choice and suffering all the consequences.
Yeah. Right.
And so speaking of consequences, that's incidents, right?
Absolutely.
The bad shit. It's amazing how many people I talk to in our industry, security people, and some of them with lots of experience, that struggle with the definitions of event, incident, and breach. And what I tell them is it's normal. I think, one, to struggle with that. And number two, as long as your definition is communicated with and agreed to by the people that you're working with, your definition doesn't have to be the same as mine. You just have to define it. That's the responsible thing, is just to define what the hell that means.
Yeah.
So how would you, if you, off the cuff, because I'm interested in your perspective on this, it may be different than mine, and I'll share mine as well. It may be the same. I don't even know. I don't think I've ever had this discussion with you. I respect you. And that's the thing about bringing this back even further. Perspectives. How important are other people's perspectives? The reality about perspective is somebody's perspective is their reality. It's valid.
100%.
Just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean it's not valid. What you actually probably don't agree with is the conclusions they made from their perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the worst decisions, I beat the shit out of myself all the time, man. I'm sorry, I keep talking all over you, but I beat myself up all the time because I am my own worst critic. I'm never good enough for myself, right? Other people may see it however they want to see it. That doesn't matter to me. It does, but not really. But about perspective, the worst decisions I've ever made when I look back, are decisions where I had shitty perspective. I didn't think about other people.
Yeah. It's typically emotion driven decisions too, right? And we operate on emotion. We don't think clearly. Sometimes we get lucky and we make the right decision, but most of the time we don't. We have a higher chance of error there. I completely agree that idea of like perception is reality. And that's a hard thing for a lot of people to really understand, because me and you could go through the exact same event. The exact same things could happen to each of us. And then we walk away and, we went to an isolated room. What did you perceive happened there? And they could be completely different perceptions, right? Maybe it was upsetting to you. You were angry about it. Maybe to me, it was like, it wasn't a big deal. I didn't see any problem with that, whatever. And for me, that's true. I feel that way. It wasn't a big deal for me. And I look at you, and if you say, hey, that was very upsetting because of A, B, and C, it's like, I don't understand that. So I didn't perceive it the same way. However, your feeling is valid. Your experience is valid. And what your perception is absolutely valid. And so we have to learn to, I don't know, I think it's to be compassionate about each other and understand that just because we didn't perceive that the same thing, I have compassion for you. I have empathy for you in that situation. And I want to help fix that. Right.
Yeah. Well, and it starts, I think, with respect. So understanding that your perspective is different than mine. And sometimes I can reconcile it fairly quickly. I can put your perspective and marry it with mine. Okay, you see it this way, I see it that way. Okay, creates a better picture for me. I get it. Then there are times when the perspective is quite a bit different than mine. I'm a white guy with a big beard, lots of tattoos, drive a pickup truck, listen to heavy metal rock and roll music. You can kind of understand a little bit about my perspective, right? So if your perspective is, somebody who grew up, in the inner city, I never grew up in the inner city. If you're somebody who's a salesperson, I'm not a salesperson. I don't know what the hell that is. If you're somebody, so it's one, respect. I understand that you are not me, and I have never sat in your seat before. I've never walked in your shoes before. Let me process this. Let me understand what that means, because you just kind of changed my reality a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think that's what makes a really good VCISO. It's what makes a really good CISO. And it also really helps when shit hits the fan.
Absolutely. I have to mention this. You just described yourself, man. You kind of sound like a redneck Mexican.
Hey, hold up. I believe it's time. Let's get back. So we're going to get back to some incident response tips and tricks for the listeners, because we are going to get into some details. You and I both have, I think, to share on how to handle incident response appropriately, that you can take back to not just your business, but your family.
Yep.
I don't know if you know this, but we have incidents that happen to our family all the time. I had a hurricane last year. I don't know if you know about the Southeast United States, but they got their asses kicked by a hurricane this year. Those are incidents. They're not technology incidents. They may not be things that you think about regularly, but it requires a damn good response. So we're going to get to that after we get to redneck Mexican. Are you ready for this, brother?
I don't know, man. I have no idea what's about to happen. So I'm as ready as I'll.
This is where I'm going to teach you what it's like to be a redneck in Mexico. In order to really interact well, I think, as a redneck in Mexico, you have to be able to speak Mexican. And, the politically correct people say, well, it's Spanish. Well, I don't know if you knew this, but Mexico ain't Spain. It's a different country. They actually declared independence from Spain back in 1918, I believe. September 16th, if you want to look it up. We just celebrated Dia de Independencia here in Mexico. So Mexico ain't Spain. Mexico speaks Mexican. And the fact that they declared independence from Spain might indicate that they're not super fond of Spain. So what we speak here is Mexican, not Spanish. You dig?
I dig. I'm following.
I'm speaking that as a redneck. Actually, if you were to talk to a Mexican, they might totally disagree with everything I just said. But the Mexicans I meet, they'll love me. They think, I'm funny.
You're
Funny
funny. You say
looking.
funny looking. You say funny shit. I like it, man.
Funny looking. I dress funny.
Smell
I
funny
walk
sometimes.
funny. I speak their language funny. So they'll probably find us all funny. All right, let me do this. Let me share. I'm going to share. I actually created a little presentation for us here, Oscar.
Oh boy. All right.
Yeah, because, I'm super prepared on everything I do, pretty much. All right. So tell me if you can see that right there.
Yeah, gotcha, man. Loud and clear.
Okay. So we're going to go through, I have 5 phrases, words that these are basic ones that I had to learn, right away when I came here to Mexico. I keep learning, just like information security. I'm always learning Mexican as well. So let's go through this really quick. So the first word is this. How would you say this word in redneck Mexican, Oscar?
I'd take my best guess here.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Hola.
Yeah, I think that's pretty close. I think that's how most of the Mexicans would say it. I say it, holla.
Like it. Holla.
Right. Yeah, holla, because that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing holla right here. And this drove home a thing. If it is in fact holla, they speak this back in the United States, do they not? In a lot of the,
Yeah.
Cities and stuff, the hip kids say holla, don't they do that?
Yeah. Holla at your boy.
So in a way, are they not speaking Mexican up there in the United States?
Logic checks out so far.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way I hear the non-rednecks say this word, they do say it, hola, hola. And what it's supposed to mean, I suppose, is hi or hello. So this is a really important word. Now, if you speak redneck Mexican like me, it's holla. Holla.
Oh.
They laugh and then they laugh at me. I don't know if they're laughing at me to be like, hi, he's funny, like a comedian would be, or if they're laughing at me because I'm an idiot.
Maybe, I don't know, man. A little both. Maybe they like it. Oh, yeah.
Either way, isn't it fun to make people laugh?
Always.
All right. Here's the next one. How would you say this in redneck Mexican? You could say it in Mexican if you want.
Well, yeah. ¿Cómo está? Trying to think. I'm getting inside Evan's brain here, and I'm going to say, ¿Cómo estás?
Yeah, see, I got a little confused about the little things on top of the letters there. So I was like, well, I know like the O at the end is probably O, but maybe the first one is because it's got that little thing on there. Maybe it's an So maybe it's como.
Okay. Como
See what I'm
estes?
thinking?
Yeah, I see what you're thinking here.
Yeah, como estes, maybe.
Yeah, como
So
estes? Long A.
yeah, yeah.
Hola.
So I have it. Hola, como estes, and they're like, they laugh. And the funny thing, I mean, on a real sense, I have a lot of Mexican friends. I've made a lot of Mexican friends down here, and I absolutely love them. They're the most genuine people. I love this culture. I tell a lot of them that I think I'm a Mexican trapped in an American body. And they laugh at that too. But it's because I relate to so many of the core values that they have. So when I do play around with them and say this stuff, and it's funny. But yeah, this would be como estes, which means, how are you, essentially.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
so
I like it.
so far we've got holla. So if I was
Holla.
walking up to you down the street as a redneck Mexican, and the other funny thing about this is you hear Americans that come down here to Mexico and they struggle with this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to get to one of the words that I hear all the time that they always fuck up, and it's funny. The only assholes I've ever met down here in Mexico have been Americans and Canadians.
Sure. Typical.
I was standing behind the one story that sticks out to me, there's always those defining moments where you're like, maybe I shouldn't have done that. It was a lady, we were standing in Starbucks, and my wife has a Starbucks addiction. So we were going down to Starbucks, and we're standing in line, and there was an American tourist probably who was complaining about the fact she's, why don't these people speak more English? Meaning the Starbucks people. Right. And there are times when I can process something in my brain and not have it come out my mouth. And there's times when I just forget that shit.
Yeah.
And so I said it out loud, and I said it pretty mean. I said, because you're in Mexico, bitch. And she looked back like, oh shit. And she left. But
the barista probably looked at you and was like, gave you the finger gun, you're number one. Thanks, bud.
The baristas love us because one of the things that's really important when you move to a new country, especially Mexico, is, I think, especially Mexico, is it's so respectful to them when you're trying to learn their language.
Yeah.
They are so helpful to me. I'm trying. I'm 53 years old, pretty set in my ways. I'm not the most intelligent guy in the world, so it's taken me some time to learn this language. But man, just you trying. So if you ever visit Mexico and you just try to speak Spanish, you are earning so many, brownie points with these guys.
I've had that experience down there, and it's like, my first time in Mexico was visiting with you, and like I took Spanish in high school. I did some Duolingo, and like I know some words, right? But I've never been able to conversationally apply them with a native speaker. It's a little intimidating, You're like, oh man, am I going to say this right? I'm going to mess this up, and so I think a lot of people are like, I get nervous. I'm just going to sound like an idiot. But then we actually just try to like have normalcies, like greetings with them in their native tongue. Like people responding differently. I think that's if they see that you are being respectful to their culture, and I get it. I mean, I feel like if I was in that situation, like I'd feel the same way. Especially when you have the flip side where people are coming into Starbucks and saying, "Why don't you all speak English here?" Like, come on, man.
It pissed me off, dude. I was so mad. And it helps too. Like if you ever feel, like I don't want to feel like an idiot. If you just get comfortable feeling like an idiot, it makes it less intimidating to be an idiot.
Right. Yeah. Because in reality, no matter how much I study Duolingo or practice on there, like I'm still going to be an idiot when it comes to speaking Spanish, unless, like going back to what we were talking about before, unless I do it over and over and over. I do it every day. I get my 10,000 hours in, then maybe I won't be an idiot. I'll be just below an idiot. I'll be kind of okay at Spanish.
Yeah. And if you want to say fucking idiot in Spanish is maldito idiota.
Maldito idiota. I love it.
Maldito idiota. See? All right. So there we go. So far we've got holla. Is it como estes?
Como estes.
Right.
Holla.
And so if I asked you that, so we're meeting on the streets, I say, holla, and you're like, como estes? And I'm like, what would I say back? What does this mean?
Good, thank you. What would you say, though? Again, bien gracias. Bien gracias.
That's almost exactly what I'd say. I'd be like, bien gracias. If you want to speak redneck Mexican, it's bien gracias.
Where are you bien gracias?
Actually is though. Yeah, in actual Mexican, it's bien gracias. But yeah, bien gracias if you want to speak redneck Mexican. Which honestly, I'll reinforce. I do this a lot. I speak redneck Mexican on purpose because it gets them laughing, and I love when people laugh. So it's cool.
Yeah.
All right, so what's this one? I say bien gracias, and then you say. And then I might say back to you. I'll say back to you. What?
Yeah. Wata?
Yeah, that's pretty close. Wata? Wata? What the fuck you asking me? Yeah. But, the Mexicans would actually say, y tú? But, here we're, wata? Like,
Wata?
Which means, and you. So, what we've got so far is holla, which is hello, hi. And I say, como estes, which is how are you? And then you say, gracias, good, thank you. And then what? Itu, itu, whatever the fuck it is.
Itu?
And that's, and you?
What?
Like, and you? What? And then like, huh? So you should try this when you come to Mexico and see what the Mexicans do. It'd be funny. honestly.
I'm gonna give it a 10. I'll be down next year early. I'm gonna keep tuning in, learning redneck Spanish, or redneck Mexican.
Right?
I'm sorry.
So when you come back, you're coming down here in what, February next?
Yeah, February.
So when you come in February, I'll have to document all this stuff so that you can like have a manual to it, because
Yeah,
it would be really, because they do laugh. They have such a great sense of humor. It's funny. I was
yeah.
telling them when I was up in the United States last for Hacks and Hops, I told a Mexican joke, and it would be, and I knew that it would be offensive to white folk, and
Hmm.
so I said it, and it was about the dish. Just to summarize, I won't tell the whole joke, but a homeowner calls and says the dishwasher isn't working, and the repair person comes and says, I checked the dishwasher, it looks like everything's fine, and then the homeowner says, but it smells like shit, and the dishes just aren't getting clean, and so they do a little more investigation. They find that there's a dead Mexican under the cupboard. The Mexican was your dishwasher, not the dishwasher wasn't your
Oh,
dishwasher, right?
I get
And
it.
so,
Yeah.
but you tell that joke to Mexicans, and it's hilarious. You tell that to, where I told it, up in, and I wanted to see the difference. So I did it on purpose. And yeah, they were offended. And I said, do you realize that you're a white man and you're offended, but the Mexican person who told me this joke to begin with thinks it's funny as shit?
Right.
It's like
Yeah,
you're
it's
offended on behalf of somebody else.
proxy offended. I mean, that's a big state of culture
Yeah.
today. Is they're offended because of someone else, and actually, it's not
Funny.
offensive to you at all. About the potential that it could be offensive to
Right.
someone else.
Like you feel like you have to insert yourself to protect somebody else who doesn't want to be protected by you.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
They're more than capable of protecting themselves. They don't need your,
Yeah. Right.
your empowered ass to protect. Anyway. So anyway, this one, and then what is this word? I hear this one a lot actually, and this is actually real. How would you say this in redneck Mexican?
So redneck mixing again. Evan's brain again. Velartech.
Yeah,
Pure
it's
to
pretty close.
Velartech.
Yeah. So it's PUE. So PUE would be pew. So it's Puerto Vallarta.
Puerto.
Vallarta.
Yeah, Puerto
There's
Vallarta.
two
We're going
L's.
down to Puerto Vallarta next week, boys. It's going to
Yeah.
be grass. Yes.
Yeah. So there's two L's there, right? So you got to carry that L a little bit. Ooh. And the Mexicans think this funny because actually, usually when you put two L's together, it's yeah, right? It's
Right.
it's so this in true Spanish or Mexican would be Puerto Vallarta, and but I love doing this one. I do this one all the time. I live in Puerto Vallarta, and they're like, what the fuck did you just say? And I'm like, I was just kidding, and then they laugh when they get it. Yeah. So that's your redneck Mexican lesson for today. We covered hola, ¿cómo estás? Or in, redneck Mexican to be ¿cómo estés? We talked about bien gracias, which is I'm well, thank you, or good, thank you. And then ita, which is and you, which is actually what y tú. And then Puerto Vallarta, which in redneck Mexican is actually Puerto. See, if you look, that's a PUE. That's clearly a PUE.
That's a
That's
Puerto.
Puerto
Puerto.
Vallarta. Yeah. So
Puerto.
there you go. There's
Oh,
your
man.
lesson on redneck Mexican for today.
I can feel my brain grow.
Consider yourself educated, basically.
Senor Francine es más inteligente.
Yeah. Yeah. Muy. It'd be muy inteligente. Yo soy tu maestro, which would be I'm your teacher. Yo soy maestro.
So, yeah, help me in then. So, if I try to say, like, muy is very intelligent, or I'm muy inteligente, if I say más inteligente, my brain is always like the most. That's wrong then, right? So,
No, this is more.
okay. So, What would the most
If
be?
you wanted to use most, mejor.
Mejor, mejor
Yeah,
inteligente.
see, M-E-J-O-R.
Yeah.
See.
And I always try to relate, like when I learned Spanish, related to English word I know. So major, he's major intelligent, right? So major would
Mejor,
be
see.
most. Yeah. Okay, I get it. I'm digging.
Well, yeah, man.
Yeah.
And I'm learning all the time, so it's like it's awesome. But like I said, I would like to see more people in our industry behave more like most of the people that I've met in Mexico, where
Yeah.
there's this community approach where they correct you. They say the things that, because I'm kind of known as that guy that says the things that nobody else wants to say. Everybody else is thinking it, but nobody's saying it.
Right.
And here in Mexico, the culture is they'll say it. They'll say it. And not to beat you up, not to tear you down, but because you need to fucking know.
Right. I see there's a sense of community there too. Like you said, everybody seems to care about their community and each other around them. And yeah, it's like we should be more transparent with people, not because of an ego, just because we need to be honest and forward with people. If we're going to get better at what we're doing, it relies on us being open and honest with each other. And also, like, not taking offense, man, when that somebody tells you, hey, you're doing this wrong. Let me show you. Right? No, I don't need to hear that. I know what I'm doing. Like, you probably don't. If somebody's telling you that, even if they're wrong, hear them out, because you might learn something and you might surprise yourself. Even if you think they're full of shit, let them tell you how to do it. And then you figure it out.
Yeah.
Who was actually right? Did I learn something from that?
Why do we always feel like we need to defend ourselves?
I don't know, man. It's the ego again.
I don't know what it is, but
yeah,
like if you were to tell me, like, Evan, man, you swear too much, or you look like an idiot, or shave the fucking beard, or, if something, right? I don't feel like I have to defend myself about it. It's like, okay, duly noted. I will take that under consideration, and I will make my decision myself later on. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry that you
people
feel
get
that
really
way.
defensive. Yeah. Like if you criticize people nowadays, it's you might cause a damn shitstorm, because like, how dare you fucking criticize me?
Right.
Well,
yeah,
and as somebody who loves, when you love somebody, you don't tell them what they want to hear. You tell them what's going to be best for them.
Yeah, it's constructive, right? It's always meant to be constructive. Sometimes there are hard truths that we all have to learn, and it's like if you take offense anytime somebody tells you you're doing something wrong or there's an opportunity for improvement, then like we talked about before, man, you're never going to grow wiser. You're not going to continue to evolve yourself as a person and a human. So like, there's probably a reason why somebody's telling you that. Listen, hear them out. Don't be offended. Think about it.
Yeah. And if you are offended, so let's bring this back to when shit hits the fan. I'm just gonna propose a theory, and then we'll finish out just talking about, specifically around incident response. Because one of the conclusions that I've drawn and one of the observations I've made over the years is the worst incident responses are the ones that are driven by or dominated by emotion. The ones that are the best incident responses are the ones where logic prevails. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. 1,000%, man. I mean, that's the core. When you make emotional decisions, this is true. Again, relating incident response and information security to personal life, right? We have that incident in your personal life and you have an emotional reaction. It's probably not going to be the right reaction. And we see so many mistakes. And it's like, it's driven by, like, I see fear a lot of time, right? So the shit hit the fan. You don't know what to do. You've never been here before. You're afraid that, hey, maybe this is going to be a repercussion on your job, something you did wrong. This is going to be pinned on you, right? You emotionally react and you ruin all our evidence. In a nutshell, like that's what I see. Like, oh, well, we had this alert and so we went in and powered off all these servers so you guys can get here. And it's like, oh, awesome. You just like, A, you told the attacker we're on to them. And B, you ruined all the volatile memory. And C, now we're in a shit show to try to backtrack to figure out what's going on because you just shut down.
Thank you. This was all fileless fucking malware. So hello.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. This is fantastic. So we see
this
that a lot.
Running in memory.
Yeah. These knee-jerk reactions.
Gophers.
Shit. But the people who do the best are always the people. It's like, if anybody's heard me talk, I probably say this 10 times a talk: have a plan, test your plan. Those are the people who can navigate when the shit hits the fan calmly. They make logic-driven decisions, and we're able to reduce that time it takes to get your business operational again. That's what all of us want. Like, when it happens, like, our goal is, let's get you healthy again. Let's get you running again. And if you're operating on emotion instead of logic, you're just going to mess up more than you're going to fix every time.
Yeah, the worst thing you can do in any situation of high emotion or high consequence is panic. You know, I've learned that in many parts of my life. I've learned that through, hundreds of incident responses. I've learned that in scuba diving. I've learned that in everything. Like, if you want to avoid dying in scuba diving, don't fucking panic. Never.
Yeah.
Never panic. Master the ability to put your emotions in check. And if you can't do that, then put somebody else in charge of that thing that can. I've been accused many times. The first time was like, it was a shocker to me. But then it happened numerous times where I was accused of not caring. Where I came into an incident response to help somebody recover from an incident response, and they're like, "Don't you care?" And I'm like, "Of course I care. That's why I'm here. Why? Why do you think I don't care?" They're like, "Well, you just seem so cold. You're not freaking out like the rest of us." And I'm like, "Do you think it would be better for me to freak out? Would that make you feel better?" And they're like, "Yeah, good point." I'm like, "That's it, right?"
Yeah. Yeah, I talked to, like, our team. Our team is very versed, right? I mean, they're battle tested. Shit, they've done like 80 cases this year, I think, at this point. But one thing we always talk about, like a key thing, like, if we're working with a business that's never been through this before, like, this is possibly the worst day of their professional career, right? They're going to be operating on emotion, like you're saying. Like, our job is to be that calming voice in the room that thinks logically and is confident in what we need to do, because that helps them, helps ground them. It helps bring their emotions back to earth. Like, hey, we've been here. I know you haven't, but we know what to do to get you back. And it's tough too. I mean, like, honestly, you think about these people in the situations, like we talked about before, it's their business. They care about it. It's their livelihood. It's those people around them. And so they're like, holy shit, it's all gone. It's all ruined right now. And so they just go into an emotional state of hysteria.
Right. Well, and the same thing, making the parallel back to personal life, the Southeast United States, and we should take a moment to think about that. Take a moment to pray about them. Take a moment to donate. The Southeast United States, all throughout North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, parts of Kentucky and Texas even. I mean, it was a long swath. Hurricane Helene fucked up a lot of shit, right? And there were a lot of people that are suffering. We have a lot of people that died. And so, and I probably should have mentioned this at the beginning of the podcast as opposed to waiting to, this point, because that was an incident. Yeah. Some incidents have really, really severe consequences. Some incidents don't have that severe consequences. And Oscar and I talked earlier this week about, as a guy who, Oscar and I are both motivated by very much the same thing. We hate seeing people suffer. We hate seeing people get taken advantage of. And in this particular incident, there were many hundreds of people, and we still don't know the exact number, that suffered, that paid with their life. And even if you didn't pay with your life, you paid with your livelihood. Entire neighborhoods were destroyed. Entire, homes were destroyed. It's just crazy fucking shit. And so when you talk about when shit hits the fan, think of that as like an extreme, right? An extreme is you die.
Mm-hmm.
That's the extreme, right? So when we talk about an information security incident, unless you're going to die, it's not that extreme. Mm-hmm. And it goes back to that situational awareness. It goes back to being able to put things into context. We can always, sit back and play Monday morning quarterback and all that other shit. For people who don't know me, last year, about this time, we had Hurricane Lydia who came through here and hit me in our house, almost a direct hit. It was a Category 4 hurricane. Mm-hmm. And that's the crazy thing, right? Category 4, you think, oh my God, that's got to be more destructive than Helene. No, it's not. If you really understand and putting things into context and understanding how things work, the number one thing that kills people in natural disasters like a hurricane is water.
Yeah.
It's floods. Floods come fast in a flash, right? That's why they call them flash floods.
Yeah.
Before you know it, your house is fucking gone. You didn't even have time to get out of bed. It's gone. And so when you talk about, all that shit, the point is, shit really fucking hit the fan for those people. Really hit the fan. Beyond anything you can even imagine. Beyond anything I can imagine. I've never been there. I've never died. I've never lost an entire house. So think about that. When you're preparing for when your own shit hits the fan, and if you can do something for these people, if you can provide some support, if you can donate some money, if you can donate some water, donate whatever the fuck, whatever you can do, pray. Even if you can't give them anything physically, pray for those people.
Yeah. And thanks for bringing that up, man.
Tough.
And I did want to, those people are in my prayers right now, and it hits close to home to me. I'm from Appalachia, as I've said 10 times here, and Appalachia got absolutely demolished. More in, Tennessee, Carolinas, and Georgia, but those are still my people. I mean, we're all Appalachians here, and we're all Americans here too. Those are places I love. I mean, those are places I've spent a lot of time at and made a lot of memories there. And a lot of those places are gone, and they're never going to be the same, right? And I don't know. I think there's still close to 600 people missing, and I'm praying for those people. I think that we're going to see that death toll continue to rise. And so if you have the means, please support. There is a charity I want to give a shout out to. Ryan Hall. This guy's a saint. He does a lot of work to try to help save lives by kind of helping people his slogan, if you'll love this, is don't be scared, be prepared, right? And helping people prepare for these storms, getting information out to people so they can prepare. But he has a nonprofit, a 501c3 that's called the Y'all Squad. And the Y'all Squad is raising money. He's matching a lot of the money that people are donating. He's in the mountains. He lives in Appalachia. And so all that money is directly going to be in there to support those people. And so everybody understands the impact too. There are roads that are gone. There are homes that are no longer accessible by roads, completely gone. It's going to take months, if not years, to really rebuild that. There's people without electric. There's people without water. They're saying it could take months to restore those services to those people. So if you have an extra anything that you can spare to help support those people, they need our help right now.
Amen. Amen, man. And that's the ultimate. So when you talk about shit hitting the fan, back to the theme of the podcast, that's the ultimate shit hitting the fan.
Yeah.
And so when you think about situational awareness, when you think about your own incident response plan, you think about your own family, you think about all these other things, think about things like that as being one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is everything's fine, right? There's no incident, because the difference between events, incidents, and breaches, and we didn't give Oscar a chance to answer this, but we're running out of time anyway. An event is just shit that happens. It happens all the time. There's shit happening all the time, right? All the time. The difference between an event and an incident is an incident has a negative consequence associated with it. It's something that's going to cause something bad. Loss of money, pain, whatever. That's an incident. Those are the things that I want to focus on. So when I look at situational awareness, events happening all the time, right? It's all good. I got no problems right now. But if I'm paying attention, I will identify something that's out of whack, something that's different than everything else, right? I understand what my normal looks like, and something's different than that. That might be an incident that requires me to investigate that, right? Whether I take that to my personal life or I take that to, a technology environment, it's different. Is it an incident? Yes. No. Let's say it is yes, right? If it's an incident, I then go forward and try to evaluate what that incident is, right? I do an initial investigation of that incident, trying to determine what's the potential impact here. How might it affect me? If it's inconsequential, well, then I might just live with the damn incident and not even give a shit about it. Or I might make a slight adjustment, it's just not that big a deal. in my initial investigation, I might find that this is actually, something I'm not comfortable with. This is something kind of important. It might hurt a lot. The consequences associated with this incident, I don't want to suffer them, or I want to put a limit to the suffering of those. Well, then that requires, a response.
Mm-hmm.
And so every response, that's why we have playbooks, right? We have, depending on the incident, that would dictate what my response might be, right? And I don't follow any playbook or any procedure, like for incident response, any incident response plan verbatim. This is where I have to use my head. I have to think, does this fit? As I'm trying to get my head around this and limit the damage to me, my family, my company, whatever the context is, right? So it requires all these things. Now, the more you prepare, you won't ever be able to prepare for everything, ever. So why even try that? Prepare for the obvious things. Start with the things that are obvious in your life. If you live, on a personal level, if I live in a high crime rate area, right? I live in a downtown area where there's just, I like living in the urban environment, but there's crime all the time. Well, then I would put, potentially as a preventative control, I would put more locks on my doors. I might increase camera surveillance. I might do things like that I wouldn't do in a rural environment. That's why context is so damn important for you in all of this shit, whether it be at work again or at home. It's the same shit. The concepts are the exact same. So, protect your damn family. That's number one. You can find other jobs. I mean, other jobs come and go. When we got hit by Hurricane Lydia here, I did try to prepare for that. I had a generator on hand. I had 10 circuits hooked up to that generator. I had a number of things. And this is just an example of how I tried to use situational awareness in my own life to protect my own family from a natural disaster. It doesn't mean I got everything right. It doesn't mean I did shit better than anybody else who suffered bad things, right? Context, again, is super important. But what the preparation I did do paid off. It paid off in spades. And the same thing will happen to you if you prepare, whether it be, again, at home or at work. It pays off. It always pays off. I can't say always enough times to tell you how much it pays off. Because even if it didn't pay off with the individual incident that occurred, what it did pay off was situational awareness and your understanding of, your during that hurricane, we lost a whole bunch of shit, man, but we prepared. And whenever you have an incident, if you are prepared, the truth is you can use the incident. You have a short window to use the incident to your advantage. You can control the narrative if you're prepared. If you're not prepared, fuck it. You lost that ability. When you have an incident, so I'll give you the example just personally, and then I'll let Husker, because I keep walking all over him. Personally, my daughter, my 19-year-old daughter, was freaking out with the incident, the hurricane, right? We had somewhat prepared, and I understood the situation. So we went downstairs, hid out in my office where it is a, highly protected area where I knew we'd be safe. And she's freaking out, emotion through the roof, man. And I told her, stop, think. This is going to be, if we do this right, if we don't die, I mean, you got to be truthful, right? We could die, but if we don't die, we have so many opportunities here. We have so many opportunities to become closer as a family. We have so many opportunities to share the story of how we survived a Category 4 hurricane together. We have so many stories to be tighter with the community. We have so much opportunity to be more confident in ourselves because we faced adversity and we conquered it. All these things, and that calmed her down. And at the end of the day, focusing on those things, like controlling that narrative personally, we focused on those things, and all those things came true. We still have loss, absolutely, but the benefits from the incident far surpass the loss. And I would actually do it again. I would do it annually if we could get these benefits every time. So, but that's the importance of fucking preparing and situational awareness.
100%, man. It's like, and I think about too, you and I have talked about this in our lives in general. Our most defining moments are those moments when something went wrong. Maybe there was an incident on some level, right? Because you always, it's not like what happened to get there. It's how you respond and how you recover from that, right? So in every single situation you have, whether it be personal or with your business, you have an opportunity to come out on the other side better than you were before. And like you mentioned, you have that opportunity to control the narrative, but only if you're prepared. If you're not prepared and it's a shit show,
Right.
That's on you, you know? And everybody should understand that at this point, right? Let's focus just on having that plan personally, having that plan for our business, and knowing when you're in that moment, this moment isn't the defining moment. The defining moment comes in the next day and the next day and the weeks and the months after that. That's the defining moment. That's the most important.
And see, logic brings you there, right? That logic brings you to the point that I should plan, and I'll use logic to guide me through this incident and figure out ways to use this to my advantage. It's priceless. It really is.
Yeah.
And over and over and over again, you see people using the ad hoc fear thing, and you get fucked every time.
Why did we do fire drills and tornado drills as a kid? So we were
I don't know, because
prepared.
it was a chance to hang out with the girls outside.
Obviously that, but so kids wouldn't panic, right? So they knew what to do in a fire drill. They knew what to do when the fire happened. They knew what to do if there was a tornado. You knew exactly what to do. It's the same thing we're talking about here. Just the same logic. We learned that at 4 or 5 years old. It was important to do those tornado drills. And now, like, as adults, as business owners and people who run businesses, they don't think about how that same logic still applies to instances of their business, right? Do the fire drill. Do the fire drill a couple times. Have that plan. And like Evan said, it's not going to go by the book. It's not, there's going to be deviation from that, but having the muscle memory and saying, I'm calm, I know what the plan is. When you're forced to make those decisions and you're forced to deviate, you're able to make logical decisions rather than emotional decisions.
Absolutely. Yeah. Every time you deviate from the plan, logic is 100% your best friend.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, first you identify that this wasn't planned for. What are my options? As you take inventory of those potential options, and you're not going to know the options, by the way, unless you have good situational awareness. So it brings it back to like this beginning of like understanding what the hell you're working with. And so let's say I have 3 options, then you can weigh the options. Well, if I do this, what are the potential, you could play it out. What are the potential consequences of me making this decision, or the benefits? And then you make the best decision, right? And you just continue down that path. Panic will never allow you to do that. Fear will never allow you to do that. Anger will never allow you to do that. And take, like, I use this example and it breaks my heart, honestly. You take, but it's a great example that everybody can relate to. The George Floyd riots. In full transparency, I will never, ever, ever know what it's like to live in the inner city and experience the same emotions that those people suffered. I will never know it. So it's easy for me to play like I have all the answers. But what I can tell you is emotion led them to make really poor decisions. Meaning
Absolutely.
the people. Logic would have led you a different path, honestly. And the thing about logic and emotion, as a social engineer, my favorite thing to take advantage of is your emotion. It is. Now I'm a social engineer who doesn't take advantage of you. I use it, to influence and, help you. But if you take the same thing to a real social engineer, they're using logic, you're using emotion. How much of an advantage do they have right out of the gate to just get whatever they want from you?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's just playing on the psyche, man. And if you know how to manipulate people to get that emotional response, you can manipulate them to do a lot of things.
Amen. Well, dude, we're like 2 hours and 12 minutes. I could talk to you I could talk to you for like multiple days. Then your wife would be so pissed off because then she'd feel like you and I were married as opposed to you and her. But the big important, one of the big things about this podcast for me is mental health. It's talking to somebody who will listen to me. I'll listen to them, justifying some of the things we think, because there are times when you actually do feel like you're crazy, because the things we preach make so much sense. It's 100% sense, right? I don't understand how you would do this any different. Yet, when you look at the way the world operates, less than 50% of small to mid-sized businesses have an incident response plan. It makes you feel crazy.
Yeah, it is absolutely insanity. There's no excuse. We have so many resources to help. A free plan. Take the plan, do it yourself. So it's not a money thing, right? It's a time.
I saw a guy on Facebook who was ripping on the fact that it was a free plan. Like, he said, if it's free, like, it's obviously not valuable. It's like, are you full of shit, man?
He hasn't read it. I guarantee you that. So
no, he's probably never ever responded to an actual incident in his life.
Yeah, never worked an incident. Probably certainly hasn't read the plan, because if you read it, you would know it's a good damn plan. And third, goes back to talking about, well, I don't care what that guy thinks because he's probably an idiot. Whatever.
Right. Well, it also shows too that you obviously don't know us and know the mission.
Yeah.
Because both you and I would do all this work we do for free if you could actually sustain a fucking living with it.
Absolutely.
Because this isn't about the money. This is about the mission.
A word out of Pinky's books, again, referencing Pinky. I hear him say this on calls, is like, if we fix it, if we can fix the broken industry right now, and you no longer need me anymore, I'll gladly go dig ditches or do something else because the mission served. Let's do it.
Hell yes. Abso-fucking-lutely. I want to learn how to play piano and guitar, I'm more than happy to step away from this shit if it was all fixed.
Next time we see Evan, he's going to be in a mariachi band. He'll have the full
redneck. What does a redneck mariachi band look like?
They play Hank Williams Jr. covers in mariachi style, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, man. I love you. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, man. I'm going to have you back again in the future, if you don't mind.
Yeah, and I'll be on Mountain Time Zone then. I'm a little sleepy. It's after midnight here,
dude.
So we'll be in the same time zone. We'll stay up all night then. It'll be great.
Oh, yeah. I love you, man. Safe travels this weekend, and we'll catch up next week, all right?
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. Again, I appreciate it. And thanks, everybody, listening to us today, too. Love talking to you, brother. I love you, and look forward to doing it again soon.
Right on, brother.
All right. See you guys.